There were 18 guys in a group in a house. And there were 9 guys who were religious, and they're about to take, a break or whatever, go to sleep. It was at night, and they wanted to daven Ma'ariv. They only had 9. There were 9 Charedim and 9 Chilonim in the group. So they asked one of the Chiloni guys, can you daven Ma'ariv with us? He said, sure. I have to run to the bathroom first. I'll daven Ma'ariv. He wasn't going to go, but now that you're asking me, so if I'm going to daven Ma'ariv, he said, fine. So they expected him back a minute, 2 minutes later, a couple minutes passed by. He's not coming. So they go to the bathroom, what's going on? Obviously, whenever you're in Gaza, you're never really feeling very secure. Pays to hear this. So they go knock on the door to see what's going on with this fellow, and doesn't respond, and they're hearing moaning and groaning, and something doesn't seem right. They smash the door. Incredibly, they saw that this guy, there was a Arab that came from underneath these tunnels. They pop up anywhere and everywhere. It's unbelievable what they've done over there. Horrific. He pops up and he's pulling this guy down into the tunnel, and he's fighting for his life, but he's got this Arab's hand around him. And they open up they see what's going on. Obviously, they shoot the guy on the spot. He's dead. They recognize what is going on down below. This is a tunnel that accesses a bunch of different people with bombs and then obviously monsters down there. They were planning an entire attack. And obviously they found out first, and they threw bombs down there, and obviously they wiped them all out, and they saved. They would have been literally sitting ducks another half hour to an hour. When they would have taken a break, they would have been sitting ducks for these guys to come out of that tunnel and kill them all. But one Jew decided to daven Ma'ariv. One Jew is in that place that to remind the world, remind us, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching over us. Another incredible story, I'll mention one other story. This is a mind-boggling story, Rabbi. They killed and they captured a lot of Hamas terrorists in the last few weeks. And a general called up one of the big speakers in Eretz Yisrael. He told him the story. Because again, they want it out there. Even the secular soldiers want these stories out there to make sure you guys are still keeping us in your minds. They recognize that our tefillos and our learning and our extending ourselves is what's giving them the chance to be successful in Gaza. And they captured this one very, very high-level Hamas member, Yamach Shemoy V'Zechroi, and they noticed that there were plans to attack Tifrach. Tifrach is a yeshiva. It's 800 members, a very famous yeshiva. There are 800 people in that yeshiva in Tifrach down south. It was part of the whole area, which is very near Gaza. And when they had a sick to think about what they knew, because they knew all these details, and we know about this already from other cases, but here they knew the schedule. They knew when Hakafis was. They knew when davening was. The Arab had the schedule of everything that goes on. And we know that the people who worked there probably gave it to them. They saw the schedule, they took a picture, and they sent it to these animals. So they saw what this guy had. They saw one of the plans was to attack Tifrach, and the question is, what happened? Why didn't you attack Tifrach? Why didn't you attack this yeshiva? And he said, we didn't attack it because when we came into the area and we looked from a distance at the yeshiva, it was up in flames. It was burning. We saw it. We saw the fire. We saw the smoke. And we said, it's somebody, obviously one of the missiles hit it already, and the place is done. So there's no point. There was no smoke. There was no fire. It was untouched. What did they see, Rabbi say? Maybe they were high. Could be. Yeah, they were high. They were on some drug and something. They saw fire. Okay, we can say all this stuff we want to say. And I'm not telling you what to believe or not to believe. But this came out of a Hamas officer's mouth. We saw the fire. We saw the smoke. We said there's no point. So we found a different target. And 800 B'nai Torah, 800 Jews, rabbis, holy people dedicated to learning Torah, were untouched because of a vision that Rabbi said we can't explain, except that HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. If he wants to have an Arab see something, he'll have an Arab see something. And we have many other stories. The 6-Day War, we had such stories. This is not a new phenomenon where we cannot explain what they looked at, what they saw. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has many ways of saving us.
Another story that he told me, this is a powerful story. He gave me the mother of this who said over the story, but I couldn't call it yet. So I'm quoting Reb Chaim Zita told me the details. He said, right now he goes to Gaza almost every week to visit the soldiers and give them chizuk, the tzaddikim over there. He says in one of the places that he went to, one of the Chayyim told Kvod Harav, "Bola tank, come inside the tank." Okay, he said he went inside the tank. He goes in. He sees pictures over there. He said of Chacham Ovadia, Baba Sali, Enon Milvado, Hashem Elokim. The soldiers at Tzadikim, Mamash righteous people, Tzadikim, Baalei Emunah, full of Emunah. The country changed a little bit. It really changed. The soldiers, everybody are more and more Baalei Emunah. It's an unbelievable thing. The Kiddushim was going on. So he went inside the tank, and then one of the soldiers told him, Kvod Harav, I know you have a lot of stories, but this one is going to shock you. And if you don't believe me, call my mother from Rishon LeZion. What happened? His parents are not Shomer Torah Mitzvot yet. Okay? They're not religious yet. But after their son went to the war right now in Gaza, the mother and the father said, we got to do something. We got to do something for our son to be safe. Ma'asim, we need action. Got to go out of the comfort zone. So they asked the rabbi told us the greatest beracha is Shabbat. Keeping Shabbat is the greatest beracha. But they told him, Kvod Harav, we can't keep the whole Shabbat. We love the TV and all that. We can't keep the whole Shabbat. What we could do, after the husband and wife discuss it, is we could keep 3 hours out of the Shabbat. 3 hours. Okay. They asked the rabbi, which 3 hours should we keep? Friday night, Shabbat day, Sudash Shlishi time. Which 3 hours should we keep? The rabbi said, or Yitzchak Zilberstein. He told them, Vadai, Shishi Balayla, Yom Shishi Balayla, Friday night, as soon as the rest of Klal Yisrael is keeping Shabbat at that time, Adlakat Nerot, first 3 hours you keep Shabbat. After 3 hours, Amavdi B'Kodesh L'chol, Yalla, your Shabbat is over. So that's what they did. They took upon themselves 3 hours. Now, 3 hours is not easy. I grew up before I became religious, 6th grade. And I remember growing up as a Chiloni in Eretz Yisrael. It's not easy to start keeping Shabbat. It's really, really, really not easy. I respect all those that do it. It's really not easy. It's the greatest life in the world. It's the funnest thing is to keep Shabbat, but it's not easy to make that change. So the first 3 hours, that's what the family took upon themselves, that couple. But listen to what happens. In one of the weeks during the war, during the first 3 hours of Friday night, the husband tells the wife, back in Rishon LeZion, and while their son is in Gaza, the husband tells the wife, תדליקי את הטלוויזיה, turn on the TV, בוא נראה מה קורה בעזה, what's going on over there? Tells them, we said the first 3 hours. First 3 hours, no television, we're not turning the TV. Tells them, בוא נראה, זה דרבנן, בוא נראה. Tells them, no, first 3 hours. And they were arguing it out, and she convinced her husband, Baruch Hashem, we're not turning on the TV. Motzei Shabbat, Rabotai, the news came out, because they don't release right away who passes away. Motzei Shabbat, they released, Hutali Pirsum, as they say, unfortunately, that there was one tank that was ambushed and bombed with RPG, whatever it's called. And unfortunately, a big group out of the tank passed away. Their son, who was inside that tank, miraculously, Rabbatai, Nes Gadol Haya po in our times, their son survived and is 100% alive. And at what time did that attack happen? What time? Friday night, during those 3 hours, Rabbatai, they started keeping Shabbat. The first 3 hours of Friday of Shabbat that happened in Gaza. Do you hear this, Rabbatai? This is unbelievable. The power of mitzvot, the power of Shabbat, the power of praying to Hashem.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org